Good afternoon and welcome to the Promoting Opportunities for Young Parents to Thrive panel. My name is Samaura Stone and I'm the Director of Youth Policy and Programs with DC Action for Children. I'd like to start by thanking Mayor Bowser, Dr. Faith Gibson Hubbard and the Thrive by 5 team, my colleague Rakaya Anbar Shaheen for serving on the planning committee, and all the organizers of this summit for providing a much needed space to discuss maternal and infant health and prioritizing youth voice. I have the pleasure of co-designing this panel with 4 fabulous young people that you'll be hearing from shortly. But before then, I want to take a moment to talk about why we must elevate the stories of young parents. The challenges that they face are very unique and primarily rooted in policies, programs, and systems that make it difficult for them to thrive. In a recent report by the United Parent Leaders Action Network, they surveyed over 100 young parents between the ages of 18 through 24 years old. And they reported feeling alone and lacking support, struggling to find and keep affordable housing, quality healthcare and childcare, and balancing parenting, educational goals, and jobs that pay family-sustaining wages. Not to mention the hassle of applying and often reapplying for assistance programs such as Daycare Vouchers and other subsidies. Similar to the parents surveyed, our panelists today also share similar stories. I asked them to describe one word that summarizes how they felt when navigating multiple programs, policies, and systems while pregnant or with a child. I will introduce them and end with the word that they each selected to describe how they felt. I will start with Naija Hawkins. She is 19 years old and a senior in high school. She has a 2.5-year-old son named Joshua. After graduation, she hopes to attend college and enter the medical field. She's a former member of the YWCA's Young Women's Advisory Council, and her word that she chose was hectic. Tanazia Matthews is 24 years old and has an 8-year-old son named Jalil. She is currently a graduate student working on her Master's of Social Work degree so she can advocate for teen parents. She was also a member of the Young Women's Advisory Council, and her word is frustrating. Dijonia Hines is 22 years old and has a 2-year-old son named D'Angelo. She works as an intern at Casa for Children of DC. She also owns a small business that specializes in baking and catering. Her word is optimistic. Jenny Redmond is 24 years old and has a 1-year-old son named Tayden. She is engaged in programming through Sasha Bruce Youth Work. She loves making candles and plans on launching her own business selling candles soon. Her word that she chose is overwhelming. So with that, I am going to have the panelists think back to the beginning and think back to before things were overwhelming, hectic, and frustrating. And I want them to think about when they first learned that they were pregnant. What was it like for them? What challenges did you guys face when it comes to navigating systems? And what was that like? So I am going to start with Tanazia.
Yeah, so when I first found out I was pregnant, I was 15. And that was a really scary time for me and my family because we didn't know what we would do, how, we would move forward. But my support system was really strong. My mom, my grandma, my son's dad, his mom, his family, everyone was really supportive. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I was actually already 6 months pregnant. So there was really no time for me to prepare or anything like that. I had 3 months to go before this baby was coming. And so I think one of the challenging things was navigating, prenatal care. And it was not no prenatal care in my neighborhood. So I had to travel to Washington Hospital Center. And I live in Ward 8. And so sometimes me and my son's dad, we were missing school because I had doctor's appointments or, I was considered a high-risk pregnancy. So I had to be monitored or something like that. So it was really difficult in the beginning, but we've managed to get through it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tanazia. What about you, Dijonia? What was that like for you?
For me, when I first found out that I was pregnant, it was really scary for me because I didn't know how my son's father would react and everything. And then on top of that, I wasn't really in a position to be having a child, but one of my obstacles that I dealt with the most when I was pregnant was trying to obtain housing. And another thing was the prenatal care as well. And getting WIC and all of that was also another thing that I had to deal with as far as the pregnancy and everything goes.
Thanks. And what about you, Jenny? What was it like for you when you first learned that you were pregnant?
When I first found out when I was pregnant, it was scary. I found out at 4 months, so I was like nearly halfway through the process. My support system wasn't that strong. I had my sisters and a couple of my cousins. I'm a single mother, so I didn't really have his father to be around to help. A challenge for me was, I would say, prenatal care too, because my health insurance at the time, it wasn't really up. So that and trying to get housing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all during my pregnancy.
Thank you. So it sounds like there were a lot of challenges from just not having a hospital in Ward 8. It sounds like you guys had challenges with healthcare benefits, navigating those systems early on. So what about you, Naija? What challenges do you have?
My challenges as well was traveling back and forth for prenatal care when I was living in Ward 8 also. I had to travel all the way to Washington Hospital Center. But then it's like my insurance switched over. Then I had to I was in between Howard and Washington Hospital. So that was the only challenge for me with prenatal care because whenever my insurance changed, I had to hop from another hospital and do things all over again. So that was my challenge.
Okay. Thank you all so much for sharing. So I know one of the things that is also can be challenging to navigate as a parent and as in being pregnant is education. And so I know that Naija, with you, you're currently a senior in high school. I know with you, Tanazia, you're a graduate student. And so can you talk a little bit, Tanazia, about what it was like for you navigating your undergraduate years?
Sure. So, excuse me. I graduated high school in 2014 on time. And I went right into my undergraduate degree. So at the time, my son was 2. And it was a little challenging for the simple fact daycare was always something that was up in the air, I would say. I had family members that was willing to watch him, but I wanted my son to be like in daycare, to be around his peers. I felt like if I was in school, he should go to school and kind of like start that learning process. And so I realized that colleges are not really welcoming to student parents. Like there's nothing there, in your college that says we welcome you or we want you here. Like, yay, you this is a complete, huge milestone for you. My college had probably one parent support group a week. And those times were conflicting with the times that I had classes. So if I missed it, then it was like, okay, you wait till next week. And then it was just like, when I actually do want to go and see what this group offers, it's canceled or there's not enough people here. So we have to like defer it to another day. So it was just a lot of challenges with that. And so I did get my undergrad degree. I didn't let that stop me, but I wish that my university would have had more welcoming advertisement for student parents because student parents matter as well. And it's a huge milestone for us to have a child young in high school, or not even in high school, but just have a child young and go to college and finish. That's something that, is big.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you on that. What about you, Naija? What was it like being in high school?
Well, to start off, at first it was okay, But then it got like kind of hectic when it's like at certain places they don't have certain programs that you need, or it's like, how can I put it in words? It's like my situation was different. It was like I didn't have enough at the time support team to like back me up with it. So it was like it was hard with in between school and doctor's appointments and etc. So I mean, I can say we need more programs for teens like us being in high school because it's hard, or college like teenager. It's very hard.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing that. So I know that another issue that we've talked a lot about is housing and just being able to navigate housing. And housing can be a huge barrier for so many young people. And then when you think about young people who have children, it can be even more of a barrier. Jenny, do you mind sharing a bit of your story about how you've been able to navigate the DC housing system with your son?
Once I had my son, I was still staying with my aunt. Me and my aunt, we didn't really get along like that, so I eventually ended up leaving our house, went to my sister's house. My sister ended up telling me about Virginia Williams housing, little resource center. I called them over the phone the same day we talked. They placed me into a shelter the same day. Got to the shelter. Their conditions wasn't really, good up top. So I've been at the hotel for about 3 months. I didn't really like their process of getting checked in, checked out every day, daily. Room checks was every night. Sometimes my son would sleep. They'd come banging on the door. He'd wake up, disturb his sleep. I didn't really feel like it was, private. So once my 3 months came, they eventually placed me into Elias Cradle. It's a transitional housing program. So that's where I'm currently at now, working my way through the program. So that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that experience. So Dejonia, I know that your story is a little bit different than the other panelists because you aged out of foster care shortly after you had your son. So can you talk a little bit about your challenges aging out of the system and also how you were able to finally find housing and other services that you needed?
Yeah, sure. Aging out of the foster care system was really scary, to be honest, because from 15 on up to the age that I aged out, I had people surrounding me, basically doing things for me. So I wasn't used to really doing things myself. And that was one reason why I was scared of aging out. And my team made it sound so, sweet, like it would be a smooth transition, like it wouldn't be an issue transitioning, and that we would have this and that in place for me to be able to, basically tap into what the real world had for me. And after aging out, it didn't really go as planned because my team was very dysfunctional throughout my whole foster care years and everything. So it took towards the end of me being in foster care for my team to actually pull together and start doing some things when I got a CASA. So that and aging out, I had a plan for myself, and that was to stay in the transitional home that I was in, because they allow you to stay after you age out for like 2 extra years. And they had a daycare center that my son was attending, but due to him getting hurt badly in their daycare, I had to move out of that program because I then felt it wasn't safe for my son. So then I did the same thing Jenny did, and I went to Virginia Williams and stayed there from 7 in the morning until like 7 in the evening, talked to a social worker and everything, and they placed us in a hotel. And yeah, I can agree with Jenny as far as the hotels not being livable for a baby. you know. And for me being an adult, it's okay for me to be there, you know, because I know how to live in certain situations. But as far as it being kid friendly, or as far as it being sanitary enough for a baby to stay there, like my air was like my heat, it was wintertime, it was in December, so my heat wasn't working in my room, my ceiling was leaking, and it was roaches. It was just a mess. So basically, I ended up moving from there to stay with someone. Basically, you know, moving from place to place until I found a apartment of my own, and then I work at CASA for Children of DC. So they ended up giving me like a rental voucher and helping me deal with things as far as my apartment goes. And now I have.
I think, did you go on mute? Dijonia, you were still talking, but I think you were muted. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing, Dijonia. So I am, now we're gonna move to recommendations. So we're gonna go back to the question of what do young parents need to thrive? So I have asked them all to think long and hard about what they wish they had when they were navigating different systems, pregnant and also with a young child, and what things worked well for them and what things they would like to recommend to our audience that's listening in today. So these are all policy recommendations, program recommendations, advocacy recommendations. So I hope that all of you that are listening will take notes as they provide you with recommendations. So I am going to start with Tanazia. If you can share your recommendations for this audience.
Yeah, thank you. So I am recommending that the policy and the requirements for obtaining a childcare voucher should be amended. I feel like it is a long process to receive a childcare voucher, and some of the things that you have to go through, I feel like should not be there, especially when you are a student parent. And so I just feel like some of the things should be minimized or just taken away as a whole. And then my second recommendation would be to put apprenticeship programs in all DCPS schools, because I understand that college is not for everyone, but everyone deserves an opportunity. And if they can pick up a trade, you can pick up a trade while you're in high school. When you graduate high school and you enter the real world, you have something, you know, on your resume where you can start. For example, I know Blue State has cosmetology classes, but that's for, you know, nighttime. So why can we not have that in schools during a regular day, and we can kind of like put this in student schedules and things like that.
Great, thank you, Tanazia. Jenny, what would you recommend?
I would recommend that DC creates more housing programs for single mothers and single fathers, because a family do not have to just be a mother and a child or mother, father, and a child. It could just be a single father taking care of the kids. So I would recommend that. My second one would be like more family resource centers other than Virginia Williams, because that's all you get pointed to nowadays is Virginia Williams. And I don't feel like they do enough for, you know, single parents and their kids. That would be it.
Thank you. What about you, Naija?
I would really piggyback off of Tanazia about the daycare vouchers, because that's a really big issue. It's like a really hard process to go through with the vouchers. So that's my only recommendation, is about the vouchers. Like, that's a really big issue that we need to take a part of and start having more discussions about it, about rearranging the process of it.
Absolutely. Does anybody else want to chime in about that? I know it came up a lot in our discussions.
I wanted to also say that with the process for child care vouchers being so hard, it's hard for us to be able to go to school or work, and those are one of the requirements for us to be able to obtain a voucher, to be working a certain amount of hours at work or to be going to school for a certain amount of hours. And I feel as though we can't go to school to meet that time criteria if we have to keep staying home to watch our kids, or some of us don't have a huge support system where some of our kids can be supervised by family members or close friends that we confide in. So I definitely agree with Tanazia and Naija about, making the childcare voucher process a little bit easier, maybe a little bit simpler for us to be able to, get our kids in school so that we can obtain all of the education that we need on top of, working to be able to provide for our kids, because we can't provide for our kids with no job, and we can't get a daycare voucher with no job either. So there's nowhere to win in between there.
I definitely agree. Yeah, we said that at the same time. I just don't understand how, they expect you to seek a job when you're sitting at home with your child. You can't do job interviews with your infant or your toddler sitting right there with you. And if you could, I'm sure many people would do it. However, it's just something that hinders you from moving forward. And then it's just a process in general. Like, what does what does my hours at school or my hours at work have to do with the childcare voucher? What if I'm doing school and work? What if I'm doing both? Does that mean that my child gets extra time at daycare? If I'm not doing both, does that mean that I have to pick my child up from daycare at a certain time? So it's just like those questions that sit in the back of your mind about childcare vouchers and even childcare facilities. I don't think there's enough spaces in childcare facilities for children. So when you talk about childcare as a whole, I feel like that's another summit in itself.
Yeah, you guys have a lot to say about that for sure. I know we were talking about it nonstop, it seemed like. So definitely an issue that we definitely want to elevate and highlight. So before I go to Dijonia to give her recommendations, I just wanted to ask the audience, if you have any questions, please do submit them. We're going to go to Q&A after Dijonia gives her recommendations. So go ahead, Dijonia.
Okay, so one of the recommendations I had was to, start a different, like Jenny said, start a different family resource program, something that's not Virginia Williams, because to my understanding, Virginia Williams has more than just moms or dads with children there in their facility. They have people who are like, on drugs and dangerous people, and that would explain why you would have to get checked every day, which is understandable. But what I'm trying to get at is, if there was a different program in place for that, then there would be no need to, scare the children with checking their bags, or they see guns, so they're scared now, and you got to warn the kids when they come in, and that makes it scary for children, and they can interpret that the wrong way. So that's one of my recommendations, to have a different family resource program that secures housing that's not Virginia Williams, or if it's going to continue to be Virginia Williams, then the criteria for Virginia Williams should be changed to only moms or dads with children, and not other people in the community that's mixed up with the children, because that's not safe for a child to be, on the same facility as someone who maybe has a drug addiction or an alcoholic addiction, because then that whole facility becomes unsafe and compromised at that point. So, my second recommendation was to have more mental health programs in schools for women and men as well, because I know it's a lot in the Black community that mental health is not really acknowledged much And I, being the person who I was navigating through the foster care system with my mental health issues, I realized that there were not really anybody there to, you know, talk to when I was in school or going through what I was going through and all of that. So I feel like mental health programs in schools and either a different family resource programs or, you know, a rebuild of the criteria for the ones that we do have. I also wanted to add that some of the social workers for these programs are not passionate about their job, which also makes it very hard for us to be able to do what we have to do, because it's not okay for us to be told that this is how it's going to be 1 minute, and then the next minute when we're reaching out to this worker, the worker is not there to support us as they said they would. And that's, you know, very rough.
Great. Thank you all so much for those recommendations. Does anybody else, we're actually ahead of schedule. Does anybody else have any more that they would like to add before we open it up for audience Q&A?
I was going to add about the daycare vouchers after Tanazia was saying, and it's not only it's mainly on like if you have this many hours of work or this many hours of school, but like sometimes they want both parents, and half of the time it always doesn't be both parents in the child's life, and that also affects you getting a voucher for your child to be in daycare. It's like it can only be a mother and their child or a father and their child, and it will affect because the father's not there or the mother's not there in the child's life, and it can really affect the voucher, because that's my situation and it affected me very heavily. So I just want to add that.
Thank you for adding that. I
wanted to add the fact that I wanted to just piggyback off what Naija said for just a second and say that just because a mom and a dad is taking care of a kid together doesn't mean that they have it all together, you know, because a father may not have a job, but he's looking for one, and things like this, like a pandemic may come through to where both parents are just in a drought right now. They're both, you know, trying to manage with what they can. And the way that the system is put together makes it to where you have to put your baby father on child support to be able to get some services. But what if he's already there? You know, like what if he's already helping out? What if he's already taking care of his kids? So we have to put him on child support to get assistance from the government, and that's not, you know, it shouldn't be that way either, because some dads do take care of their kids and some dads don't. But in this case, putting your baby father who is taking care of their child on child support so that way you both can be able to get services for your child it's a hard decision to make. But on top of that, like, parents look at it like we're going to do what we have to make sure that our kid is provided with what we need as far as, you know, everything, housing, food, everything.
Thank you. Tanazia, were you going to chime in there?
I was, and I guess I would just like end it off with, and this is my message is for the viewers. I hope that you guys are watching and you understand where we're coming from and that you're taking these recommendations into consideration.
Great. Thank you all. So we have a couple of questions that came through. So I'm going to start with those questions. So the first question that we have, and it's really for any of you that would like to answer, is what can the public do to help young mothers?
I would say the public can first. One thing that the public can do to help young mothers is stop bashing us. Because first, for us to be young mothers, we are very smart. We're very intelligent, and we're more than just young Black women who were being grown one day and had a baby. You know, we have more than just drama on our mind. Like, we're trying to make ends meet for our kids, and not every mom doesn't take care of their kids, and not every mom out here, you know, is just trying to be on government assistance to live on it forever. You know, some moms actually need government assistance to boost them to the point where they want to be in life, to the point that they can let that go, you know. And it's hard for us to do that with these barriers in place and also it discourages some moms because of what people think of them, and that also ties into the mental health piece because you're already dealing with your child, and then you have to deal with how hard it is to get a voucher for your child, and then you have to deal with how hard it is to get housing, and then you have to deal with how hard it is to get a job because you can't find anyone to watch your child, and then it's just very hard. I feel like so the main thing that the public can do for us young women is support us, and that support goes a long way. That support is very strong and critical, actually, to be honest. Because like Jenny said, she didn't have a huge support system. So her not having a support system made it harder for her to navigate through the government systems because of her not being able to have anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like they see one person and it's like they piggyback off of the negative energy and they ride the wave all the way like, oh yeah, she's like that too, and she's like that too. So all of them are like that. Every mother is not the same. You have some mothers that want to strive and do the best for them and their child all the way through, like riding the train all the way through. And you have some mothers that want to ride that wave until like they can't ride it anymore. It's like, and I totally agree with you, DJ Dodger. I'm sorry. I totally tried you now. Sorry.
That's okay, Naija.
I'm sorry, DJ. But I totally agree.
Thank you. We have some more questions coming through. So the other question that we have is, what would an ideal family resource center look like, and what services would it offer?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What would an ideal family resource center look like, and what services would it offer? Maybe Tanazia, do you want to take that?
I saw Jenny come off mute, so I'll Jenny, you take
Go ahead, Jenny. I didn't see you.
Back. You sure?
I think an ideal family resource center would look like, mothers, fathers, their kids, just looking for people to go to get help when needed. And to also, sit in front of somebody that, understand like where that person is coming from. Like, not just sit there and do the work because you have to and you really don't want to, but sit there and really try figure out a way to help that person, get to where they're going with their kids. Like, I don't know. That's what I think.
Thank you.
I definitely agree, Jenny. I feel like a family resource center will provide wraparound services. So, Dijonia mentioned mental health. So that's something that will be offered there. We talked about daycare vouchers. So the family resource center will help parents, get daycare vouchers. Also, find housing, we've all stated that no family is the same. Every family is different. You may have a family, a mom, dad, and a child. So, have someone there that can support that family. You may just have a mother and her babies. So, have someone there that can support that mother and her family, or just a single father trying to navigate, the stigmas for fathers as well, teen fathers, as well as like fatherhood, and then trying to raise that child on their own. So have someone to support, that father, mentorship programs, even though you are at an age where you're considered no longer a youth, a mentor is still something great to have in your life. Someone who has been through what you're currently going through and can help you navigate out of that situation. And so I just feel like a resource center will provide wraparound services for families, and it would just be for families.
I feel like for me, an ideal resource center would be, of course, drug-free, and it would have passionate workers actually wanting to do their job, like they said, not just sitting there for the check, because I noticed that a lot. That's one of my
that's something that I noticed a lot going through these programs too, is you have someone sitting at a computer who's asking you all these questions and, you know, acting like they care. And then at the end of the day, it's just like, well, I got a home to go to at the end of the day, you know, and that's the attitude they give off sometimes. And that's not a really good attitude to have. But that on top of, like the girl said, we talked about daycare vouchers. So an ideal program or resource center would be to provide a easier standard of having to obtain daycare vouchers for your youth. It would be to have programs to help us do job searches or to prepare for a job interview, or, you know, to have like a little closet with attire in it for us to prepare for the interview, as far as looks, you know, a closet for kids and moms who don't have clothes, you know, just coming off the street. That will help. Giving us, like, serving meals, that will help. And I understand that, but it's some programs that are that way, but I feel like the main piece would be to have the workers more passionate about their work.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
I feel like some of these programs will honestly be effective if the workers actually put forth 100% more effort into what they're doing now. Because right now, like I said already, it's just like, I'm working to get my check and then I'm going home. Like, you're not changing lives for real. So
it's about a support team.
Right, and that's why we have this never-ending cycle of women who are homeless with kids, and then we're going to Virginia Williams and sitting out in their building for 7-8 hours a day, going to hotel rooms, and then you got to leave the hotel sooner than what you expected because it's not a good living condition for your child, and all of that. So I feel like that all ties into having a good family resource program. That will all tie into that.
Yeah, thank you for all of that, Dijonia. So we have a few more questions to get to. So someone typed in, if I am a young mother, where do I go to get resources?
It depends on what kind of resources you're going for, because I wouldn't go to Virginia Williams for any housing resources at all.
I was about to say, don't go to that,
it's just a waste of time, to be real, because you're going to sit in there until like 7 o'clock you have to get in there at 7 o'clock in the morning, because if you don't get there early, then you have all these people ahead of you, and then you're just sitting there to be seen the next day, to be seen sitting there again until 7 that day.
Yeah, it's not bad.
This is to put you in a hotel that,
like you don't go nowhere.
So
right.
Even still sitting there all day, you still won't get nowhere. You can sit in there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they still won't help you. They be like, come back.
So can we think about where would you recommend someone to go to find helpful services? I think we know what may not be helpful, but what would you guys say?
Yeah, but the only place to really go is Virginia Williams. That's the only place that offers the stuff, but it's like they don't really help. They don't help. So it's like a dead end, really. And I don't even want to like say it like that, but it's like kind of like a dead end. And it's sad to say that's the only resources that we have, and it doesn't even help us strive or go to what we need. And it's sad to say.
That's what I'm saying. Like the housing program I'm in now, you have to go through Virginia Williams to get in. Okay. It's like you can't really go nowhere besides Virginia Williams to get placed nowhere else. That's exactly where everybody else is going to place you. You can't look up nothing on the internet because it's only going to say Virginia Williams.
Okay. It definitely is.
Just to clarify for our audience that may or may not know. So if you are a pregnant, a young pregnant mother or soon to be mother, you have to go to Virginia Williams to get support services started for you.
I feel like the only place you don't have to go to, I feel like the only way you don't have to go through Virginia Williams is if you're in foster care, because like I said, when we were talking like previously before the panel, like it's a whole lot of programs and everything in place for women who are pregnant or with kids. Like when you're in foster care, they move you to the top of the line when you're in foster care. But when you're not in foster care, you're moving at small faces. Nobody really cares for real. The way they express it to be cared, the way they express it when you're in foster care. And it confuses people too, because they have you thinking that your transition is going to be just
Right. So we have a couple more questions that I want to get to before we close out. So another question is, as a teen mom myself, I experienced discrimination when trying to enter programs that would have helped me stay in high school. Did you all experience that too? And if so, how can we overcome that as a community?
So I would say I'm sorry that you experienced that first and foremost. Like, you should not have experienced that, have went through that. I didn't experience any discrimination with my school. My school actually set up I want to call it like a support plan for me when I did go out on maternity leave, to where as though I went and picked up work and dropped it off, and I met my teachers and things like that when I was in high school. I will say that I did get, kind of smart remarks when I went to like the DHS office or to WIC, and, I'm young and I have my son, and, my son's dad is there, and people are looking at us and they're like, well, where are your parents? And you're too young to be a parent. So, I did get those comments, but I think one thing to overcome it is just to prove them wrong. You know what you're capable of. There's no handbook to parenting. And to whoever sent this question, I'm sure you're doing a wonderful job with your child. And so just remember to continue to uplift yourself, because it's sad to say, but society will break you down. So you have to be that person who picks yourself up and you say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through this. Like, be that inspiration for yourself and for your child.
Yeah, and they say that, and one thing I have to say is, they say that it takes a village to raise a kid, but there is no village. So what village is going to help you, And not even only that, but one way that I was discriminated against a lot was when I was in foster care. And going into foster homes, or, dealing with caseworkers, like I said, who were not passionate about their job, when it came down to it, it's hard for me, it was hard for me to express how I felt to caseworkers and stuff like that, because in the program that I was in, like, if they get mad at you, they're spilling your business. And that makes it hard for me as far as, healing and getting better at, mentally coping and all of that, because I feel like there is no one in my corner in this program, and I feel like if you guys don't have my back,
I think she muted. I can't hear her.
hit obstacles, and trust me, I've hit so many obstacles, but I keep pushing and you keep going. And with that determination, you're going to eventually be where you want to be in life.
Okay. That was really great sound advice from both of you. Thank you. So I'm going to take one final question. And this is a question that came up a couple times. People want to know, how do you all currently handle stress? What do you do for self-care? How are you all taking care of yourself? And I think I'll start with Jenny. I see that you're off mute. So I'll start with you. How are you taking care of yourself?
I take care of myself, once in a while. But like anything I get, it goes towards my son. Like any little money I get goes towards my son. I might get my hair done once in a while. Like I don't do it often. Might buy something for myself once in a while. But anything that I get, it goes towards my son, because like I said, I'm a single mother. Never know when the next time I'm gonna have money or he gonna need something. So anything I get, I just buy his stuff in advance. Like that's it. That's all I can say.
I'm gonna agree with Jenny. on that because one way that I deal with self-care is, I like to do my makeup and I like to do my hair a lot, and I like to listen to music. Actually, I've learned a whole lot of my stress relievers through a worker from Hillcrest, and her name is Miss Stacy McGann, and she told me a lot. Like when I first got into foster care, I didn't have any, mental health coping skills or anything, but working with her for the long period of time that I worked with her, she really honestly showed me how to be humble and use the coping skills to my advantage. Even when I feel like they're not working, they're working. And sometimes I've learned that mental health is like a mind game sometimes. So I feel like one way for me to be able to deal with myself when I'm dealing with things like that would be, like I said, to listen to music. And I feel like writing often sometimes gets it out of my head and on paper. And now I'm writing a book about it, so about my life. So that helps. That's effective. Hot showers, all of that. I like playing with my baby. He makes me happy. So I'm dealing with self-stress pretty good.
Great. Thank you so much. So we are going to move into our closeout. And so given that we are currently in what some people have referred to as a double pandemic and a summer of reckoning due to the recent violence and murders of several Black men and women and the international uprising demanding for justice and accountability, I would be remiss to not point out the fact that all of our panelists are currently raising Black boys that right now are cute and adorable, but as they grow up, this may very well change. So with that, I have asked them all to share one word that describes their son and why, and to also share with us their wish and dream for their child, despite how the world may see, limit, or judge them. So I am going to start the closeout with Tanazia.
I knew you were going to stop me, and I was like, this is where it gets emotional.
Yeah, this is a heavy question.
It is. So this is my picture. And this is Jalil here in the middle. And one word to describe him is gentle. My son is really gentle. He's always like, Mommy, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? He's always like, well, you look like you had a rough day. Maybe you need a nap. Like he's always putting, us first. And so, when we practiced this, it wasn't this emotional.
Yeah. Aww.
I think my wish for him. Ooh, y'all, for real.
Yeah.
Just say it.
It's okay. Get it out, girl. It's okay. We all understand.
My wish for him is to be successful. And that's on any level or platform. It's just that when you look at your child and you see the gentle person that they are, and then as they grow, society portrays them in a different way. So it's like, when does my son go from being gentle to becoming a thug or, a person who has his life taken away? And that's something that I never want, for my son. I want him to grow up and to be successful. My son knows at 8 that, I said college is not for everyone, but me and his dad have both told him, you have to do at least one semester for college, just to get the experience. And if you don't like it, that's okay. We'll take the money that we have for your college fund and put it towards a trade. Or if you want to open a business, you can do that. My son is always saying, the other day, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was like, a scientist. And I was like, okay, well, what are we experimenting on? Let's start now. But his wish is changing every day. And my wish for him is to just to love himself and to know that he can be who he wants to be. And mommy, mommy gonna support. Like, I'm gonna stand behind them, 10 toes down. But sorry, y'all, I got emotional.
No, that is quite okay, Tanazia. It is a very heavy question, one that I don't have children yet, but one that I know I'm gonna have to think about when that day comes for me as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you all for being so vulnerable. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next just to get it over, but
Go ahead, Dijonia.
Let me see on my phone. All right, my picture's here. See, and this is D'Angelo, and he's 2 years old. He's actually awake now, but if I put him in the camera, he's going to be too out of control. So I'm just going to speak about him. One word I had for him was energetic, and that's because he's always up and running around, and he's also very caring, like Tanazia said, very loving, and sometimes when he wants to be very gentle. And one of the wishes that I have for him when he get older is to not be looked at by society as, like Tanazia said, like a thug or, like a murderer or anything like that. And me on my end, I'm working as hard as I can to make sure that I instill all of the knowledge in him that I know as far as being successful, as far as I know of being, educated and everything. And despite my journey and all of the obstacles that I have been through, I feel as though my son's life, what I went through, doesn't reflect his life. And it doesn't reflect how he's going to be as a person, because some people feel like things happen generationally, but I honestly feel as though generational curses can be broken. And I am going to do that with leading my son the way I feel like he will become a leader. And that's how I want him. That's the goals that I have for him when he gets older. And not that, and to basically take care of his family, take care of your family and, just be successful and stay out of trouble. Every mom wants their baby to be something in life,
Thank you so much, Dijonia. Who wants to go next? Naija or Jenny?
I'll go next. This is Tated. My word for him was loving and caring, because one thing that he do is make sure I smile. Like, no matter how I'm feeling, he just, he's there to brighten my day. My goals for him, I said I would want him to, have standards for himself. I do want him to finish high school. However, if he don't want to go to college, then I'm not going to force it on him, because school is not for everybody. As long as he go out and make, have a good job, make a good living for himself, that's all I ask. That's what I said.
Oh, hey, baby. Okay, Naija.
This is my son, Joshua. He's into the water right now. I'm sorry. One word I would use to describe him is independent, and another word is loving. He's like, he doesn't need me. It feels like he don't need me anymore right now, and it hurts my feelings to say I always be crying all the time about like he doesn't need me no more. Like he'll brush his teeth on his own, he'll take his bath on his own. It's like he doesn't need me. But one thing I want him to do in life is just to strive and shoot for the stars in everything he does, no matter what it is. Like today, to say I'm on the train and I'll ride until it ends.
Yes. Wow. This has been just so amazing. Just beautiful. I just want to, I guess my word that I would choose would be inspiring. inspired. I am just so inspired by all of you, passionate, smart, just amazing young women. Thank you all so much for being vulnerable. Thank you all so much for trusting this process. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for being able to walk us through what it was like for you all. And so we started out by you all sharing a story, sharing a word that described how you navigated the system. And then we ended with you all sharing a word that describes your son. Again, I can't thank you all enough. This has definitely been amazing experience for me to be here as your moderator, moderating this panel and organizing this panel. And again, I just want to thank you all. And if you guys have any last words, then you guys can say your last words as we officially close out. Any last words that you guys want to leave us with?
I just want to go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say it again now that everybody can see it being said. And I want to say that I commend all three of you all for taking this step to improve the community of moms, dads, and their children. This is not an easy topic to discuss, and it's not easy to speak on vulnerable things, like Samaura said. And for us to come on here and do this is very strong to me. And I really, really appreciate you, all three of you, for, you know, opening up and being a voice for the moms who can't, you know, speak or advocate for themselves.
I just want to say, I agree with you, completely. Like, it was, and I had like an amazing time meeting you, Dijonia, you, Jen, and Tanazia. Like, this was a wonderful experience. And I just want to thank you for all having me to participate in this and share my voice and my opinion on today's society about mental health, maternity, and everything else.
Yeah, I totally agree with what has already been stated. I think this panel was a really great one. It had really strong women up here, really strong moms. Some of us are in school, some of us are starting our own businesses and writing books. Some of us are, you know, working and just navigating life all in itself. And I hope that speaks to all teen moms out there to say, like, you know, hey, I did have my child. No, he or she was not a mistake. And I'm going to continue to go on with my life, and I'm going to make sure that I create a better life for my child. And to you, Samaura, thank you so much. You were a beautiful moderator. And you were really open and vulnerable yourself, because you allowed yourself to get to know us and look deep into us and what we want for our sons. So thank you as well.
Oh, thank you. Jenny, any parting words?
I think I agree with everybody on here. This was helpful. I just never seen myself doing this before, but I did it. And just thank you for helping along the way.
Well, that's it, everyone. Again, I just want to thank this fabulous panel of women. Again, getting to know them has been quite an honor for me. You all are fabulous. You all know how I feel about you. And just continue to keep doing amazing things and sharing your stories. Your voice is so powerful. Thank you all for joining us. Bye.